Now I'm going to go over installing the JAWS DB MySQL in Heroku. So we're going to learn how to install a MySQL database in Heroku and how to access it from a SQL client. Heroku provides two database SQL types, which it calls ClearDB and JAWSDB. Both of them include MySQL. While both have a free tier access, both require a credit card, but there's no charge. We'll install JAWSDB MySQL. So to that, we're going to want to sign into Heroku, which I've already done here. And we're going to start with going to this new, and we're going to select create a new app. You are not going to have to create a new app for every project or lab. You can use the same database from all labs and projects. So we're going to create a new name in Heroku following the naming scheme, which is going to be the first two letters of your first name, the first two letters of your last name, and then we'll do 20-db. And so this is the convention set up by the professor. So now I'm going to go ahead and click create app. Now from here, we're going to want to go to the resources tab, and we're going to type in JAW. And then I believe JAWSDB MySQL is what we want right here. So we're going to make sure that we have the free plan selected, which is by default. You can see there's a lot of paid options down here, but we'll just stick with the free one. And we'll now hit the provision button. Now this is where it might give an error asking to enter credit card info. I actually recently set up a database in Heroku for a separate project where it did ask me for that credit card information. And so I just entered it there, and then everything worked fine from there. And so this is the page we do need to be on where we get the message the add-on JAWSDB has been installed. So now now that the database is created, we need to get the information to connect it, which includes the host name, database name, username, and password. So we're going to go over to the settings. And under config vars, we're going to select reveal config vars. So now we have this JAWSDB URL value. And so I'm going to go ahead and copy this to be used. This first section is going to be the username. The next section after this, after the colon, is going to be the password. Then after the @ symbol, which is down there, there's going to be an @ symbol, and following that is going to be the host name. And then after the port, there's going to be a /, and it's going to have the database name following that. So going to MySQL, I'm actually going to create a new MySQL connection. And please reference the document for setting up Heroku in this week's iLearn. It has the username, password, host name, and database name separated, and shows exactly how to pull from there. And so the connection name, I'm going to use JAWSDB. And then I'm going to go ahead and quickly copy in my host name, username, and all the other information. Okay, so now that I have all this information, my username, my host name, I set the connection name myself. I'm going to test connection, and you'll see I'll get a successfully made the MySQL connection. You may have it pop up for the password, which, as described, is right after the colon in the URL value that's given to you on Heroku. And so now that that connection is successfully made, we can go out of it, and let's go ahead and open our database here so we can see the database in here. So let's switch to here. So here is the database. So from here, I'm going to want to create a table for our lab 5. If I go into here, I should be able to just like create new table. It is telling me no schema is selected, so I just have to double click, and now you see it's in bold, so it is selected. Now I'll go ahead and set a new table. We'll set that to favorites. Then we are just going to want to create our first primary key column just as ID. And we'll go ahead and check that that's the primary key, not null, and we'll also want to set it to auto increment. This is going to make it continuously count and add to itself to give us a unique ID each time, so we don't have to manually track that. Not null, obviously, because that ID needs to be there for each entry into the table, and then marking it as its primary key. We are then going to want to add the image URL column, and we're going to want to set this as, instead of having a 45 character limit, we'll want it to have a 250 character limit. And then I'll finally add the keyword column, and this is going to just have a 25 character limit. So from here, I should go ahead and click apply. You're going to see the changes that are going to take effect. Looks like everything worked fine. And so now I'll just close out of this. I'll drop down our tables and we will see our favorites here. I'll right click and select rows just so I can see them. And we'll see that we do have our ID, image URL, and keyword columns all looking correct.